Don't mind the mess. All right, so we're playing catch up for the past 3 days. Welcome back, President Trump. All right. So, reason why I'm doing this differently today is because I can actually share the screen on this one on my laptop. So, what I did was, this thing's supposed to be straps. I don't know if it's right. It's not a big deal. Sign up for Khan Academy, and you guys are going to work through this with me. You're going to get to see how stupid I really am. Like I said, I've signed up for myself. So I'm going to share the screen. I don't think I have anything specific on here.
Are you online?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're good. You can talk to me.
No, I didn't know I was going to catch you before you did, but I had an idea.
What's that?
See, I'm out of breath. All I did is walk in from
I
the door.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, ain't nothing you can do about it.
How long has it been like that?
2 years ago. Because of the heart condition of where your heart is not, where the heart is.
Mm-hmm.
It gets old after a while. It can't work. That's why everybody gets older and I get that way.
You want me to do something?
I was just gonna.
Hey, if you're gonna be working in the yard, keep your phone on you.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if I'm being here on this.
Yeah.
I may not hear you.
Oh, I understand. No, I was just thinking about doing what you can now because later this evening, around 6 and after, that's when everybody, all the crazy get on the road.
Yeah. Are we going to the gym at 6?
Well, I mean.
Or 5? Well, I mean.
They close at 9 today.
I usually plan around 6 o'clock. But whenever you want to go back.
I wasn't even thinking about the gym.
Okay. Yeah.
I was gonna say we could have gone up there and had a picnic at the park up there.
Yeah, we could. Give me about like an hour. We can.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't do too much outside. Where was that? Crap. Okay, so, oh wait, I need to mute. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here is the Khan Academy that I signed up for. I'm going to actually go to that page. When you first sign up for it, it's fairly easy. All you have to do is sign in with your email. Like if you have a Gmail account, it automatically signs you up. I went ahead and put the homeschooling name up. So that way you guys can see it. And like I said, I literally just signed up for this like the other day. I haven't done anything in it yet because I haven't streamed yet. So like I said, you guys are going to be working through this with me. I went ahead when you first sign up for Khan Academy. Now, mind you, this is not sponsored. This is just me running through trying to find things that work best for me, as free as possible or as cheap as possible. So Khan Academy is free, and you get to choose. I think it's up to 9 courses to start with. I chose Algebra 1, Art History, Financial Literacy, High School Physics, Intro to Computer Science, which is Python, Macroeconomics, Microeconomics, NASA as an elective, and Pre-Algebra. I actually started off with Pre-Algebra because that's what we said we were going to do on here. Remember, I told you guys that I was going to be reteaching myself. I'll be honest with you. I graduated 24 years ago. I barely graduated high school. I was kind of like a push through. We had a 0 dropout rate that year, and I was mailing my homework in from another county. Don't know if that's legit or not, but it worked. I was working 3 jobs and going to school. So, I'm going into homeschooling was a choice that I made based off of what was going on at the time. And I have sorely lacked at this horribly. There's so much information to have. It is so overwhelming. It's like a waterfall, and you don't know where to start. There's so much information that gets passed around, and there's lack of information because people don't really talk about it. But now that Trump has made that announcement, I think a lot of people are going to start looking into homeschooling. For those of us who have been registered as a homeschool for the past several years or more, kudos to you, because, man, this is a fucking nightmare. For those of you who are getting ready to get into homeschooling, just keep breathing. That's all I can say. Is just keep breathing. Keep your mind open. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, put it to the side. Maybe it'll work later. For the most part, pretty much homeschooling is state required for testing and stuff like that. But as far as everything else, you pretty much get to choose your own curriculums and stuff like that. A lot of people like to lean a little bit more towards a structured curriculum. Others not so much. Myself, I'm an unschooler. So I am taking my children completely out of the school system and out of every bit of thing that we were taught, basically, growing up, for the most part, other than basic tradition, baseline tradition stuff, and putting them into a atmosphere where they are now forced to learn the world the way that it is, because the world that we grew up in, and I know I've said this many times in the stream, the world that we grew up in does not exist anymore. The world that we're getting ready to go into is going to be a whole new world. And we need whole new leaders and people who are influencers who actually make a difference in the world. We don't need fake drama bullshit. There's plenty of that in the world as it is. We need people who are actually intentionally trying to make things work good for people. So, like I said the other day, that you probably start seeing a lot of changes here soon. Pretty drastic ones too. I hope that you're all able to handle it and work through it as best you can in that moment in time. So we're going to keep on keeping on, staying strong through all this. And I encourage you that if you haven't before, to start praying to whatever you believe in or don't believe in. If you don't believe in anything, just send good vibes. So yeah, I don't know where that came from, but anyway, long side tangent. So we started off with pre-algebra. So we're going to start off in Khan Academy. Like I said, it gives you a lot of options to look through. it does give you the progress that you make. You can make a profile and stuff for teachers. You can edit your courses. And it keeps track of everything that you're doing. So we're going to try this out together. I'm not going to say that this is the greatest. I'm not going to say it's the worst, but we're going to try it out. And we're going to start off in factors and multiples. Now, mind you, I'm jumping like off a cliff for this. I haven't done math, actual math, in I don't know how long. So it's horrible for being a homeschooler. So yeah. All right. It gives you like these little tabs here that shows you how well you did. And you work along with me. So a lot of these are videos. As you can see, Khan Academy is very video related. As well as I think Georgia Learning is also video related. And then there was some other ones. I can't remember. I was going to click on that and then I forgot that I'm sharing my screen. I keep on forgetting. I have to have certain things separated. But yeah, it gives you little quizzes and stuff like that. So today, like I said, we're starting off in pre-algebra. This is, I think, 8th or 9th grade, depending on where you're at. And for those of you who never learned it before, maybe you guys can learn it with me. And for those of you who have learned it before, maybe you can learn something new while being here. Okay, so I guess I'm just scrolling for a second to see. It says practice, learn. Okay, so you learn on the left side. Sorry, I'm scrolling back and forth. So on the left side of it, you get your little videos. And then on the right side is when you do the practice, I guess. So I guess I'm just going to click on this. It may or may not work. It may lag a lot. Fair warning. If it even plays at all. And this could be copyrighted. I'm not sure.
What we're going to do in this video is talk about factors and factor pairs. Now, when we talk about factors, these are really numbers that can be multiplied together to make some number. So for example, if I were to talk about factors of 6, I could multiply 2 times 3 to get 6. And so we would say that 2 and 3 are factors of 6. In fact, we would also say that 2 and 3 is a factor pair for 6, because when I multiply those two, I can get 6. Now, to think about all of the different factor pairs for a number, we could think about it in terms of area. How can we make a rectangle with area 6? Well, you could do it if it's 2 units by 3 units. So it could look something like this. I'll just hand draw it. So let's say it has... So let's say our rectangle looks like this. So it has 2 rows and then 3 columns. And let's say these all have equal area. It's hand drawn, but you can see that the area here would be 2 times 3, which would be equal to 6 square units. Now, what are other ways to get to an area of 6? Well, you could have something that is 1 row, but then it has 6 columns. So maybe it looks something like this. It looks like this. So it's 1 row, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want them all to be roughly the same size. So it's 1 times 6 would be also an area of 6. So that would be another factor pair. We know that 2 times 3 is equal to 6, and we know that 1 times 6 is equal to 6. And these are actually the 2 factor pairs for 6. And we can do it with larger numbers. We could think about, what about all the factor pairs for something like 16? Pause this video and see if you can think about that. Well, I'll set up a little table here to think about that.
Another thing I like about it is that
and so in this column, I'll put the first factor. And in this column, I'll put the second factor. And the way I like to do it is I start at 1 and I keep working up to the number to try to figure out all of the factors. So let's start with 1. So 1 is definitely divisible into 16. And as long as you put a whole number here, it's going to be divisible by 1. And what do I have to multiply by 1 to get to 16? We'll have to multiply it by 16. So that's a factor pair right there, 1 and 16. Now what about 2? Does 2 go into 16? Well, sure, 2 times 8 is 16. So that's another factor pair, 2 times 8. We found another factor pair. Now what about 3? Does 3 go evenly into 16? Well, no, 3 times 5 is 15, and 3 times 6 is 18. So 3 doesn't go into 16, so 3 would not be a factor of 16. What about 4? Well, 4 times 4 is 16, so that's a factor pair there, 4 and 4. What about 5? Well, no, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 4 is 20. 5 does not go evenly into 16. Same thing for 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. Does not go evenly into 16. What about 7? 7 does not evenly go into 16. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 3 is 21. What about 8? Well, we already know that 8 goes evenly into 16. You might be tempted to say, oh, there's another factor pair of 8 times 2. But we already wrote that down. We just happen to say that 2 is the first factor and 8 is the second factor, but you could say it the other way around. So we don't have to then go to 8 times 2. And once you've gone halfway, you could be confident that you've already found all the factor pairs, because then you could go to 9, 9 doesn't go into it, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, but then 16, of course, is divisible by 16, but we've already written that here in this factor pair. So we have these 3 factor pairs, 1 and 16, 2 and 8, and 4 and 4.
There you go. So let's see here. Okay. Unshare for a second. It is really lagging. Wow. So let's see. Oh, okay, I see why I got Twitch up already. Okay. So going back, I guess, right? Up next, exercise. I'm going to share it. No, I'm not ready to I'm not ready for this, but whatever. We're going to do it. Okay, let's go. All right. Skip is a new home for hints. We went ahead and moved hints to our new skip button so you'll be able to view the solution to tough problems before moving on. Skipped questions will be counted as incorrect, but easier than ever to learn and make progress on exercises. New skip button is located to the left of the check button. Okay. Complete the table to find all the factor pairs of 88. All right, so that one would be 44. That would be 44. And that would be 4 and 8. Okay, cool. Good. All right. So the way that I did that in my head, naturally, is you're trying to find all the factor pairs of 88. So you think of times tables, right? So 1 and 88 is 1 times 88 is going to be 88. 2 times 44 is going to be 88. 4 times 22 is going to be 88. And 8 times 11 is going to be 88. Now, if you don't know multiplication, division, stuff like that, you're going to want to backtrack a little bit. But you'll also learn it as you're going forward, too. So that little back and forth stuff, it's a part of the successful process. So don't get too in your head if you don't get it right the first time or the 20th time or whatever. So, because I know I'm going to mess up on here and y'all are going to see it live. So if this isn't vulnerable, I don't know what is. There are 56 unicorns at Magic Camp. The unicorns stay in large fenced-in fields. Every unicorn is in a field. Each field has the same number of unicorns. Y'all about to laugh at me. All right, so 56 divided by 2. So it would be... Wouldn't that be a point? I'm trying to do this without a calculator, y'all. Hold on. So it'd be 2, 4, 16, 30, 40. Oops. Y'all, I'm stupid. 3. So that would be 46. That wouldn't be 56. All right, that's it. You're not going to be able to carry around a calculator with them. Guess what? I have a calculator in my pocket. So 56 divided by 2 is 28. So how did we get 28? Oh, because 16. Yeah. I don't know why I thought 4. All right. So this would be 56, I think, divided by 14 is 4. Yeah. So what you're doing then is you're taking the total number, instead of multiplying it, now you're dividing it because you're going backwards. You're going backwards. So instead of going forward, you have to go backwards on some of them. So then 76 divided by 7, or 56, I'm sorry. 56 divided by 7, or no, not divided by 7. Is it? Yeah. 56 divided by 7 is 8. Yeah, because that one's going down. All right. So this one was 8. And I don't know if you've seen how I did that or not. I can't exactly draw on this tablet thing. But yeah, it's 56, finding the pairs that make it into 56 and breaking it down. This is very similar to finding that of fractions. You might even be able to find, well, I was going to say percentages, but not really. It's kind of, but not really. Everything okay?
A potential spammer.
No. So 56 divided by 2, 28 divided by, or 56 divided by 4, 14. 56 divided by 7 is 8. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying as far as that. I should have probably gone backwards a little bit. So in algebra, you have algebraic expression, right? So you have your plus I think it's plus, minus, times, divide. Yeah. And then in that order. So when you are trying to divide to a smaller number, you have to go backwards. If that makes any sense. That probably doesn't make any sense. Okay. So which of the following are factored pairs for 66? Choose all the answers that apply. So we already know that 1 and 66 is automatically going to be it. 2 and 33. 3 and 32. 3 and 22. 6 and 11. Is 4 times 16 66? No, it's 64. And I'm checking this on a calculator, by the way, on my phone. A rectangle has an area of 18 square centimeters. Which of the following could be a rectangle's length and width? Area equals length times width, and choose all the answers that apply. So if it's 18 square meters, or centimeters, sorry, 1 and 18 is going to work. Two times 9 is 18. 3 times 6 is 18. But 4 times 5 is 20. So I'm not going to check that one. Factor pairs of 50. 1 goes into 50. 2 into 25. And that into 10. Nope. Basically writing down the same concept over and over again. Factor pairs for 16. 1 goes into 16. 2 goes in. 2 and 8 go into 16. 2 and 16 do not. 3 and 6 is 18. And 4 and 4 is 16. Gives you a little sound. All right. I got 625 energy points. Oh, yeah. Another thing that's cool about this is it kind of makes it a little fun. Just a little bit. Not a whole lot. So now we're going to find some more factors.
Find all of the factors of 120, or another way to think about it, find all of the whole numbers that 120 is divisible by. So the first one, that's maybe obvious, all whole numbers are divisible by 1. So we could write 120. It is equal to 1 times 120. So let's write a factors list over here. Factors right here. So this is going to be our factors list over here. So we just found 2 factors. We said, well, is it divisible by 1? Well, every whole number is divisible by 1. This is a whole number. So 1 is a factor at the low end. 1 is a factor. That's its actual smallest factor. And its largest factor is 120. You can't have something larger than 120 dividing evenly into 120. 121 will not go into 120. So the largest factor on our factors list is going to be 120. Now let's think about others. Let's think about whether is 2 divisible into 120. So does 120 equal 2 times something? Well, when you look here, you immediately, or maybe you immediately recognize that 120 is an even number. Its ones place is a 0. As long as its ones place is a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, as long as it's an even number, the whole number is even, and the whole number is divisible by 2. And to figure out what you have to multiply by 2 to get 120.
When it ends in a 0, it is going to be an even number. That's my understanding. Try it back.
So the largest factor on our factors list is going to be 120. Now let's think about others. Let's think about whether is 2 divisible into 120. So does 120 equal 2 times something? Well, when you look here, you immediately, or maybe you immediately recognize that 120 is an even number. Its ones place is a 0. As long as its ones place is a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, as long as it's an even number, the whole number is even, and the whole number is divisible by 2. And to figure out what you have to multiply by 2 to get 120, well, you could think of, well, 120 is 12 times 10. Or another way to think about it, it's 2 times 6 times 10, or 2 times 60. You could divide it out if you want. You could say, okay, 2 goes into 120, 2 goes into 1, no times, 2 goes into 12, 6 times 2 is 12.
That's how I
Subtract,
do it.
you get 0,
I
bring
look at how
down the
many can
0,
go
2
into
goes
the
into
first
0,
part.
0 times 2 is 0,
But
and you
those
get no
odd numbers
remainder
get me
there.
every time.
So it
It's
goes
like my
60
brain just shuts
times.
off.
So we have 2
It's like,
more
no,
factors
we're not
right
doing
here.
math today.
So we have the factors. So
I
we've
look at the numbers and
established,
they're
the
just
next lowest
exactly
one is
that. They just
2, and the next highest factor, if we're starting from the large end, is going to be 60. Is 60. Now let's think about whether 3 is 120. Is 120 equal to 3 times something? Well, we could just try to test and divide it from the get-go, but hopefully you already know the divisibility rule. To figure out if something is divisible by 3, you add up its digits, and if the sum is divisible by 3, we're in business. So if you take 120, so we're dealing with, so this is 1, let me do it over here, 1 plus 2 plus 0. Well, that's equal to 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 0 is 3. And 3 is definitely divisible by 3. So this is 120 is going to be divisible by 3. And to figure what that number that you have to multiply by 3 is, you could do it in your head. You could say, well, 3 goes into 12 4 times. And then let me just do it out just in case, just for those of you who want to see it worked out. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. You subtract, you're left with nothing here. You bring down this 0. 3 goes into 0, 0 times 3 is 0. Nothing left over. So it goes into it 40 times. 40 times. And the way to think of it in your head is this is the same thing as 12 times 10. 12 divided by 3 is 4. But this is going to be 4 times 10 because you have that 10 left over. Whatever works for you. Or you could just ignore the 0, divide by 3, you get a 4, and then
I
put
was
the
just
0
thinking
back
that
there.
breaking
Whatever
down the
works.
12 would
So
probably
we
be a
have
lot
2 more
quicker and
factors. At the
easier.
low end, we have a
Just
3.
looking at that 12
And at the high end,
6, 4.
we have a 40. We have a 40. Now let's see if 4 is divisible into 120.
3.
Now we saw the divisibility rule for 4 is
That's
you
gonna be
ignore everything
320
beyond the tens
times.
place and you just look at the last 2 digits. So if we're going to think about whether 4 is divisible, you just look at the last 2 digits. The last 2 digits are 20. 20 is definitely divisible by 4. So 120 will be divisible by 4. 4 is going to be a factor. And to figure out what we have to multiply 4 by to get 120, you could do it in your head. You could say 12 divided by 4 is 3. So 120 divided by 4 is 30. So we have 2 more factors, 4 and 30. And you could work this out long division if you
Oh, yeah, because you already
want to
skipped
make
50.
sure that this
Okay.
works out. So let's keep going. And then we have, let's see, what 120 is equal to, is 5 a factor? Is 5 times something equal to 120? Well, you can't do that simple. Well, first of all, we could just test, is it divisible? And 120 ends with a 0. If you end with a 0 or a 5, you are divisible by 5. So 5 definitely goes into it. And let's figure out how many times. So 5 goes into 120. Doesn't go into 1. It goes into 12 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract, you get 2. Bring down the 0. 5 goes into 20 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. And then you subtract, and then you subtract, and you have no leftover, as we expect, because it should go in evenly. This number ends with a 0 or a 5. So 5, let me delete all this so we can have our scratch space to work with later on. So 5 times 24 is also equal to 120. So we have 2 more factors, 5 and 24. And let me clear up some space here because I think we're going to be dealing with a lot of factors. So let me move this right here. So let me cut it and then let me paste it. Move this over here so we have more space for our factors. So we have 5 and 24. Let's move on to 6. So 120 is equal to 6 times what? Now, to be divisible by 6, you have to be divisible by 2 and 3. Now, we know that we're already divisible by 2 and 3, so we're definitely going to be divisible by 6. And you should hopefully be able to do this one in your head. 5 was a little bit harder to do in your head. But 120, you could say, well, 12 divided by 6 is 2, and then you have that 0 there. So 120 divided by 6 would be 20. And you could work it out long division if you like. So 6 times 20 are 2 more factors. 6 times 20. Now let's think about 7. let's think about 7 here. 7 is a very bizarre number. And just to test it, you could think of other ways to do it. Let's just try to divide 7 into 120. 7 doesn't go into 1. It goes into 12 one time. 1 times 7 is 7. You subtract. 12 minus 7 is 5. Bring down the 0. 7 goes into 50. 7 times 7 is 49. So it goes into it 7 times. 7 times 7 is 49. Subtract. You have a remainder. So it does not divide evenly. So 7 does not work. 7 does not work. Now let's think about 8. Let's think about whether 8 works. Let's think about 8. I'll do the same process. Let's take 8 into 120. And just as a little bit, well, let's just work it out. And just as a little bit of a hint, well, I'll just work it out. 8 goes into 12. It doesn't go into 1, so it goes into 12 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. Subtract there. 12 minus 8 is 4. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times. 5 times 8 is 40. And you're left with no remainder, so it goes evenly. So 120, let me get rid of that. 120 is equal to 8 times 15. So let's add that to our factor list. We now have an 8, and now we have a 15. Now, is it divisible by 9? Is 120 divisible by 9? To test that out, you just add up the digits. 1 plus 2 plus 0 is equal to 3. Well, that satisfies our 3 divisibility rule, but 3 is not divisible by 9. So our number will not be divisible by 9. So 9 will not work out. 9 does not work out. So let's move on to 10. Well, this is pretty straightforward. It ends in 0, so we will be divisible by 10. So let me write that down. 120 is equal to 10 times, and this is pretty straightforward, 10 times 12. This is exactly what 120 is. It's 10 times 12. So let's write those factors down. 10 and 12. And then we have one number left. We have 11. We don't have to go above 11 because we already went through 12, and we know that there aren't any factors above that because we were going in descending order. So we've really filled in all of the gaps. And you could try 11. We could try it by hand if you like. 11 goes into 120. And you know, if you know your multiplication tables through 11, that this won't work, but I'll just show you. 11 goes into 12 one time. 1 times 11 is 11. Subtract 1, bring down the 0. 11 goes into 10. 0 times 11 is 0. You're left with a remainder of 10. So 11 goes into 20 10 times with the remainder 10. Definitely does not go in evenly. So we have all of our factors here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20, 24, 30, 40, 60, and 120. And we're done.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. So the reason why I got this incorrect is because I thought that the final answer had to be 18. So I did 18 equals 24 minus 6. But that's not true. When showing the factor, you have to show that it is divisible by the said number or multiplied by said number. So this one is correct by stating that is 3 is the other factor for 6 to be a factor of 18. To find out if a number is a factor of something, basically all you have to do is take the number itself and divide it by the number. If you have a point, or a decimal of some sort, it's not a factor. So you take 78 and you divide it by said numbers. 7, 4, and 9 all have decimals. So even if you don't know the numbers, identifying what it is or is not will help also. I know it's kind of technically guessing, but I don't think that first one is right, but let's check it. So 24 divided by, no, the first one's wrong. I already tell you that one. It's 10. It's 2.4. So 1 is 24, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. Yeah. Because at 10, there's a decimal. Then why would I put a factor of 48, which is a number above 24, into it? Just clarifying, the others are not an actual. Okay, so the rest of them have decimals. I already kind of knew that by looking at it, but factors of 36. So what I do is I take 36 and I divide it by the numbers. So 2, it's got a whole number. 3, whole number. 4, whole number. 12, whole number. 16 point. Nope, so it's not that one. So let's go to the next one. So we already know that 2, 3, 4 are our numbers. So I'm going to try 6 is a whole number. 9, 12, and 24. No, 24 has a decimal. So then I only have that as an option. Pretty much a process of elimination at this point. That's kind of cute. Oh, Unit 2 had issues. I had one wrong with it. I'll be honest, though. These videos are kind of long.
We're told we know that 5 times 3 is equal to 15. Yep, that's true. So which of the following statements are also true? And it says to choose 2 answers. So pause this video and see if you can work through that. All right, now let's go through them one by one. So this first one says 3 is a multiple of 15. Now, in order for 3 to be a multiple of 15, that means that we can multiply 15 by some whole number to get to 3. But a multiple of 15, we're thinking 15, 30, 45. It's not going to be 3. What whole number can I multiply 15 by to get 3? If I multiply 15 by 1, I'm already at 15. So this is not going to be our choice. And since they say pick 2 answers, well, we might be able to figure out it's these. But let's just read them to make sure that they make sense. 15 is a multiple of 3. So that means I can multiply 3 times some whole number to get to 15. And we know what that whole number is. It's 5. They tell us right over there. 5 times 3 is 15. So 15 is a multiple of 3. 15 would also be a multiple of 5 because I can multiply 5 by the whole number 3 to get to 15. So I like this choice. 5 is a factor of 15. Well, factors of a number are numbers that you can multiply together to get that number. So 5 is a factor of 15 and 3 is a factor of 15 because 5 times 3 is 15. So this one is also true. It would have also been true if they said 3 is a factor of 15 or if they said 15 is a multiple of 5. Any of those would have been true statements based on what we know that 5 times 3 is equal to 15. Which of the following numbers is a factor of 154? So a number is going to be a factor of 154 if we can divide that number into 154 and not have a remainder. Or another way of thinking about it, a number is a factor of 154 if 154 is a multiple of that number. So let's look at each of these and see which of these we can rule out or say is a factor. So does 3 divide evenly into 154? Or another way of thinking about it is 154 a multiple of 3? Well, you'll later learn that you can actually test whether something is divisible by 3 by adding up the digits. And if that's divisible by 3, then it's going to be divisible by 3. And so you see here 1 plus 5 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 is not divisible by 3. But if you didn't want to do that little trick, and we have other videos where we go into more detail about that trick, you can actually just divide 3 into 154. 3 doesn't go into 1. It does go into 15 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract. Then we have 0. Then you bring down the 4. 3 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract. And you have a remainder of 1. So 3 is clearly not a factor of 154. So we can rule that out. Now, what about 5? Well, any multiple of 5 is either going to have a 5 or a 0 in the ones place. You see that if 5 times 1 is 5, 5 times 2 is 10, 5 times 3 is 15, 5 times 4 is 20. You either have a 5 or a 0 in the ones place. This does not have a 5 or a 0 in the ones place, so it's not going to be divisible by 5. 5 is not a factor. 154 is not a multiple of 5. Now, 6 is interesting. You could do the same thing. You could try to divide 6 into 154. But if something is divisible by 6, it's definitely going to be divisible by 3 as well because 6 is divisible by 3. So we can immediately rule this one out as well. Because 154 is not divisible by 3, it's also not going to be divisible by 6. And you could try it out if you like. And we could make the same argument for 9. If something is divisible by 9, it's going to be divisible by 3 because 9 is divisible by 3. Well, it's not divisible by 3, so we're going to rule out 9 as well. So we've ruled out everything. It looks like 14 is our only option, but let's actually verify it. Let's actually divide 14 into 154. 14 doesn't go into 1. It goes into 15 exactly one time. 1 times 14 is 14. We subtract. We get 1. Bring down the 4. 14 goes into 14 one time. 1 times 14 is 14. And of course, we have no remainder. So 14 goes into 154 exactly 11 times, or 11 times 14 is 154. 154 is a multiple of 14. Let's do one more. Which of the following numbers is a multiple of 14? So now we have 14 and we're trying to think of its multiples. So there's two ways of doing this. You could go number by number and try to divide 14 into them, or we could just try to figure out what all of the multiples of 14 actually are. So let's try to do that. Let's try to do that second technique. 14 times 1 is 14. You add another 14. 14 times 2 is 28. Add another 14. Let's see, you add 10, you get to 38. Then you add 4 more, you get to 42. Then you add another 14. I haven't seen any of these numbers show up yet. Add another 14 to this, you get to 56. Still not quite there. Add another 14. Let's see, if you add 4, you get to 60, and then you have to add the 10. So then you get to 70. And it looks like we have found one of these numbers. 70 is a multiple of 14. 14 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 14 times 5 is 70.
shit. Okay. What set of numbers are shaded on the 100 chart? A lot of this is like checking, like backtracking the math on like a calculator or something. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking the lowest number, like for example, the number shaded on a 100 chart. Taking the lowest number and identifying whether that number goes into these other numbers to see if they're multiples, because clearly they're not factors. I mean, other than, I mean, I don't even know if 96 goes into 8. Yeah, it does. It's 56 going to 8. Yeah. 64. Yeah. Scarlett tried to shade all the factors of 15 on a 100 chart, but she made a mistake. Which factors of 15? So it'll be below 15, so it's not its multiples. I also want to see if $60. Does it say 90? 75 and 45. 75. Okay, so it's multiples. Factors are less than. Multiples are more than. Okay, so these are. How long have I been live? For about an hour almost.
In this video, we're going to start thinking about what it means for something to be a multiple of a number. So we're asked which of the following numbers is a multiple of 9. So pause this video and see if you can figure that out. All right, now let's do it together. And one way to think about a multiple is a number that you can get to by multiplying the number, in this case 9, by a whole number. So we could figure out the multiples of 9 by skip counting. That's one way to do it. So you could go from 9, and then you add 9 to that, you get to 18. You add 9 to that, you go to 27. You add 9 to that, you are going to get to 36. You add 9 to that, 45. Add 9 to that, 54. Add 9 to that, 63. Add 9 to that, you get 72. Add 9 to that, you get to 81. And we could keep going. But to figure out whether these are multiples, you really just have to say, hey, are any of these numbers in this list? Now, if one of these numbers are larger than 81, we would have to keep going to see it's included. But we can see that 46 sits between two multiples of 9. 46, that sits closer to 45, but it sits in there. It sits between two multiples. So that's not going to be a multiple. Another way to think about it is, for something to be a multiple, if you divide by 9, you're not going to get a remainder. But if you divided 46 by 9, you are going to get a remainder. You're not going to be able to divide 9 into it evenly. So I'm going to take that one out of contention. 77 is right over here. It's between 72 and 81. Once again, it's between two multiples, but not a multiple. 39 is between 36 and 45. So not a multiple, between two multiples. Rule that out. And we can see very clearly that 18 is a multiple. If I was doing this on my own, I would just maybe be skip counting in my head. I'd be going 9. All right, I don't see a 9. 18. Oh, I see an 18. There you go, especially if I'm only going to pick one choice. Let's do another example. Which of the following shows only multiples of 8? So pause this video and think about that. All right, well, I could do it choice by choice here. So let's see. This first one is 4 a multiple of 8. Well, 4 can divide into 8. We could say that 8 is a multiple of 4, but 4 is not a multiple of 8. What whole number am I going to multiply 8 by to get to 4? So we can rule this out. And you can think about what they're showing here. These are actually multiples of 4, not multiples of 8. We can skip count here. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. These are multiples of 4, not multiples of 8. Some of the multiples of 4 are also multiples of 8. 8 is a multiple of 8. 16 is a multiple of 8. 24 is a multiple of 8. But not all of the multiples of 4 are multiples of 8. And I think you might be seeing a little pattern here of which ones are multiples of 8. Now, what about this choice right over here? 16 is 8 times 2. 24 is 8 times 3. 32 is 8 times 4. 40 is 8 times 5. In fact, we could skip count. 8, then 16, 24, 32, 40, then 48, 56, so on and so forth. But these are all multiples of 8. So I like this choice. And then over here, 1, 2, 4, and 8. Well, these are showing numbers that can be divided into 8 without a remainder. You could think of them as factors of 8. You could say, hey, I can multiply 1 times 8 to get 8. I can multiply 2 times 4 to get 8. But these are not multiples of 8. What whole number can I multiply 8 by to get 1, or to get 2, or to get 4? In general, your multiples of a number are going to be that number or larger than. I was about to say that number or multiples of it, but I realized I can't use multiples to define multiples. It would be that number or larger numbers than it, and it would have to, and if you were to skip count with that number, you would hit all of the multiples.
Sweet. I got 100 on my quiz. I got 100 on my quiz. All right, I think that's gonna be it for today. I did stream for an hour and we did learn the first chapter or first lesson in pre-algebra on Khan Academy. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I hope you learned something cool. I know it's a little repetitive, but it seems like a lot of these have to be. So, especially for me. But yeah, you guys can continue to follow me through this, and I guess we'll just learn as we go. Hope y'all have a good day, and until I see you again, behave.